What if they snatched you from your comfy bed, gave you the most basic of training, and threw you right on the front lines? They just might. Some of y'all know what this is. That FAFSA form, the FAFSA. And don't nobody say that shit right. Welcome to college. AKA, go ahead, open them real fake doors of opportunity. You know what I mean? This is some of y'all's first taste of that adults only 18 plus sweet that bondage. Yeah. Sally Mae got that OF money. Except for y'all that didn't nobody teach you about no credit cards, and now y'all in credit card debt. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother video. That's a whole nother story. There's a question on the FAFSA that connects you to a 2,500-year-old system designed to own you. By the end of this video, you're gonna see exactly how that system been messing with you ever since, and what you could do about it theoretically. Are you registered with the Selective Service? Bitch, I might be. Dudes over 18, you know the drill. Uncle Sam don't want no green eggs and ham. He want your ass. If you're a chica watching this, don't go nowhere. You'll want to learn about this too. Because, you know, our glorious leaders, they're actively trying to add you to the happy fun time on the front line list. Used to be, you couldn't even get no financial aid if you didn't check that box. No cashing out your check to feed yourself, no textbooks, no help on rent, no topping off the re-up because you blew it on old girl from Kim 101 or whatever. They finally changed all that in 2020, though. Guess someone in Congress found a couple crumbs of conscience in a couch cushion. Yo, that's some dope ass alliteration I wrote up in there. Yo, I'm not mad about it, but like I messed that up like at least 10 times already. I got it right though. Hey. Anyway, Congress was probably bored in quarantine, stuck inside, looking for that little scribble pad with all the insider trading secrets and Epstein's new number. If you were like me, you knew very little about the Selective Service. Something draft, something Vietnam War, something take your ass into the military. Maybe you don't know shit. No worries, I got you. Let me break it down for you real fast. So why was a draft called for Vietnam? The Northern Vietnamese army and the Viet Cong were straight dragging the U.S., dragging the troops through the mud, the jungle, the cities. Top U.S. generals looked around. They knew what time it was. But instead of going home, they said, shit, we could do a draft. And they did. When they talk about it, teach about the draft, it often sounds like it's just some counterculture that rejected the draft. You know, some anti-war movement on the front lines of protests, fighting the good fight. They'll show some interviews with some veteran shaming hippies, talking about hippies are cowards, you know, avoiding the civic duty. But that's not the truth. The truth is, it wasn't just them, right? It was everybody. The regulars didn't want it either. Nobody was okay with this. Nobody. Draft dodging was a way of life. Bob Dylan made protest music, and everybody pretended his voice didn't sound like a cat with asthma taking a shit. Fatties would roll, fatties would smoke, tabs would drop. They made little nifty protest signs, some little arts and crafts, you know. Sit-ins were sad, festivals were festied, and a truly impressive abundance of cheeks were clapped. I gotta word this carefully, so hold on, let me figure out how to word this. Pay attention. Pay attention though, because this is one of those things that they don't teach you. They want people to forget this part. All right, so these other folks, let's call them the underground weather enjoyers. Yeah. The underground weather enjoyers, they built advanced fireworks, wrapped up nice and discreet, and delivered them all over the country. Call that shit Blamazon, same day delivery. The US Capitol, the State Department, the Pentagon, New York City Police Headquarters, California Attorney General Office. They hit up 25 spots in total. I'm not going to talk no more on this. If you're interested, you should look it up yourself. The Vietnam War was lit, especially in Vietnam, where the U.S. dropped napalm on everything and committed a genocide. 2 million civilians total died. Mostly the U.S. did it. 4.8 million Vietnamese were exposed to Agent Orange. 250,000 refugees died at sea. That's just Vietnam, though. I left out all the deaths in Laos, which caught so many strays, man. It became the most bombed nation in history. In Cambodia, the U.S. not minding its own business in Cambodia led to the Khmer Rouge, who went on to commit a genocide themselves of 2 million under Pol Pot. So yeah, it's a Vietnam War. If you didn't know, now you know. That was our last draft here in the US. But the draft itself is old. It's so old they call that time antiquity. All the way back to Hammurabi, the Babylon king with the eye exchange laws. But our specific flavor begins, as all specific flavors often do, in Rome, the Roman Republic specifically. So it's 509 BC. Rome just became a republic. They kicked out the king. They're drunk on freedom. And the very first thing they do, well, according to legend, the very first thing they did was swear a blood oath. All right, you know what? Gather around. I'm about to tell y'all a story. I'll get back to the draft in a minute. It's story time. Listen. All right, so the legend goes that Rome's last king was a piece of shit, like a real tyrant. This dude was a villain, straight up. Ignored the laws, ended people daily. But he was only half the problem. The king's an asshole. But his son Sextus, bro, was extra for no reason. Entitled, he was like the worst possible trust fund. Imagine the worst possible trust fund kid you could imagine. So one day Sextus had a little shindig, got some noblemen come over, little liquor, little smelling sauce, just a little hanging out. Sextus got to go fuck it all up. I'm talking about which of our wives is the best. Which of our wives is the best? What the fuck kind of no chill ass topic is that though? For real, who just talks about which of our wives is the best? Of course, this all ended up with them arguing. One noble, Collatinus, he wasn't having it. He said, nah, you fools got it twisted. Y'all wives is in some skankery. But my wife, she virtuous. She's the most virtuous. She isn't just virtuous, she's the most virtuous. So the whole group was like, man, shut up. All right, let's go find wives then. Let's check on them. Their drunk asses looked all over Rome, up and down for the wives. Some were partying, some were thotting, some couldn't be found. All were for the streets, except Lucretia. Lucretia, Collatinus's wife. She was the one at home, the only one at home, and she was doing some arts and crafts type shit. That ended that argument quick. For everyone else, but remember, I told you Sextus was extra, extra. Man, he couldn't let it go. He obsessed over it all day, every day, until finally this motherfucker took his ass back to her house when he knew Collatinus wasn't at home. And she let him in because he's the prince. You can't really turn down a visit from a prince. The royalty just comes to your house. You gotta let him in, even though he's a walking red flag factory. All right, so listen, I'm gonna be real with you. All right, if you're the type you need a trigger warning, this is a trigger warning. You probably should skip ahead a little bit. All right, so they carry on with the little royal visit, what have you. She gets the slaves to prepare one of the guest rooms, regular nobility type shit. Whining and dining and hanging out, probably making fun of the peasants. Anyway, she hit him with the I'll see you on the morrow and went to sleep. This scummy motherfucker sneaks into her room in the middle of the night, put a sword to her neck, and tells her she gonna give up the poom poom or he gonna take the poom poom and her and one of the slaves and put both of them in her bed. You're not supposed to examine history through a modern lens, right? You're not supposed to look at history from the perspective of yourself. You're supposed to look at it from the perspective of the time of which you're looking at and how people in society and the world was. I say all that to say this. Yo, apparently it was more honorable to just to get raped than it was to get found dead in the bed with your slave. So that's what happened. She just let him have the poom poom. He finished violating and he dipped out. I mean, that's wild to me, but it's not that she let him
or rather, she gave in to him. Is what that I find wild. What I find wild is that the idea is like, slave, hell no. Like, yo, her protecting herself. I get it, yo. You, girl. But like, is that the reasoning behind it isn't for survival? Like, she's not concerned so much about her own survival so much as it is being found is being found dead in the bed with a slave and having people think like that's just too much, right? So like, I would rather get raped for the matter of honor than I would like this ain't about survival. If you kill me, you kill me. That's that's just, hey, it's a different time, I guess. You feel me? So yeah, Sextus finished violating and then he dipped out. So the next morning, Lucretia, she sent out some runners to find her pops and her husband. You know, she sent them with the message like, "Come home ASAP. It's important, important." And her pops drops everything and makes his way to her house. Palatinus and his homie Brutus drop everything. They make their way to the house. When they all get there, like, "Hey, yo, what's the matter, girl? Why you look so stressed?" You know, so she tells them that Sextus got to violating. Everyone's shocked, but not really. So she said, "That ain't all. I'm about to end it. Y'all gotta go avenge me." Her pops was like, "The fuck you talking about, Lucretia? Shut your ass up, oh extra ass." Oh no, she really pulled out a knife and poked herself right there on the spot. Rip Lucretia. So everybody's traumatized, like, "Hey yo, what the hell?" Except Brutus. Brutus was like, "All right, Lucretia, bet." Pulls a knife out of her body, holds it up, all still dripping Lucretia blood, and swears to take down the king and his whole family. That's some serious shit. Hey, they took her body to the Forum. That's the little main gathering spot for the Romans. And presented her to the whole masses. Like, yo, look what happened. Look. The people were outraged. They lost their shit. Everybody lost their chill. This was the last straw for Rome. They tired of Sextus' shit. They tired of the king's shit. You know, this was the last straw. So they went to rebellion mode. They drove that whole family out. Sextus fled to another city. They tracked him down and ended him for all his crimes. The king himself was out hunting that day. When he got back, they had locked his bitch ass out, told him to get gone. You know he was salty. You know he was salty as a bitch. He's probably standing out there for days throwing a tantrum. Nobles all got together. They voted for Brutus and Collatinus to become the first consuls, the new rulers, or rather the new leaders of the new republic. And the first thing they did was all swear to never let another king rule Rome, allegedly. I mean, they did something before all that, but that's another video. That's for the birds. But after that, they passed a law. Every male citizen 17 to 46 must serve in the army. They straight up told you, they're like, "Yo, you a grown man, 1746. You got some sort of property in your name? Yeah, boy, we gonna need you to step this way. We own that ass." We call that shit selective service, which makes it sound like you can select to serve. Yeah, because America loves doublespeak. It's how they get you to ignore reality, for real, for real. Economically non-affluent, that's just poor motherfuckers. Collateral damage, that's just dead civilian motherfuckers. Enhanced interrogation techniques, that's just them torturing motherfuckers. Yeah, that double speak, yo. They be using double speak all over. It's crazy if you pay attention. If you really pay attention to it, double speak, yeah, it's insidious. But anyway, back to the draft. The government said every male citizen 17 to 46 must serve in the army. And the citizens were like, "Excuse me, did you just say must? Must we repeat ourselves?" "Oh, okay. Well, what if we don't, huh? You ain't making us do nothing. Out of here with that mess." "Oh, lol. I bet." So you're a Roman, you got a family, you got a farm. You really ain't trying to go. You make plans to avoid it. But what happens? The historian Livy described the penalty. Those who failed to appear before the consuls were sold into slavery. No jail, no fines, sold. Started at the top, now at the bottom. That shit wild as a bitch. They said you gonna put this armor on, or you gonna put on these chains, but we gonna put your ass to use one way or the other. Now you, a young Roman male citizen, are forced to separate from your fam. They're all crying in the background. Your mother making shit harder than it needs to be. You know, she don't want to let you go. Little sister grabbing all up on your leg. A puddle of tears at their feet. You're biting the inside of your lip to hold back your own tears. It's a whole big fuss. You hand your little sister to your mom. You walk off. You don't look back. They'll make a man out of you yet. Hey, that's part one of the draft. Part two drop next week. Hey, I hope y'all got something out of this for real, for real. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it anyway. If this gave you the warm and man, I ain't gonna beg nobody for no likes and subscribes. Either y'all fuck with it or you ain't. You already know how this works. I don't know why every creator reminds us to do all this like we all just fresh to the game or something. Like half of us ain't even near the device we're using or whatever, whatever. Anyways, I'm Cicero and I'm out. Deuces.